Kalima! Kalima!
Well, it just finished bike week
Apparently so.
here in Daytona. I basically got out of it unscathed. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel on YouTube. We are also simulcasting with KGRADB.com, KGRA on YouTube, and also on Facebook. My name is Imhotep. With me always, Mr. Ken DaCosta. Good evening, Ken.
Good evening, sir.
No, Kalima was the guy who pulled the heart out of Indiana Jones. That's
Close
what he
enough.
said. Kalima.
Close
Imhotep
enough.
is the right one, though. It was rough. It
You're
was
pulling my heart out right now, so
13 days of 500,000 plus bikers in Daytona. And it's not, Ken, you've been to Florida. You have been to just north of me, actually. And so picture these roads, and some of them very, very narrow, particularly in St. Augustine. And you have the bikers, you have the tourists, you have the senior citizens. No offense, Ken. You have the young whippersnapper, dragster, racer wannabes that are out there. You have the Harley Davidson hogs, and then you have the crotch rockets. It is an amalgamation of chaos. But as I said, I'm fine. I've gotten. Oh Jesus! I didn't even look on the camera. Look at that! Holy smokes! Talk amongst yourself.
Looking at like a really bad Botox job gone wrong here.
Talk amongst yourself, Ken.
Going horribly bad.
What's going on tonight?
Okay, while Tut unwraps himself here, what we have decided to do tonight, and we talked about this, where every once in a while, in lieu of a guest, we get to pontificate for you a little bit as far as what we think, and more importantly, what you think. So, as a sort of a thank you to our loyal listeners, people in chat, people who support us, we want to give you a voice as well. And tonight is one of those nights where we are going to sit on our front lawn and chase all the kids away who, with a stray football comes in the yard. Basically, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about a couple of things. What's good about the paranormal field, all facets of it, whether this is ghosts, cryptids, UFO phenomena,
hemorrhoids,
and how it's being how it's being presented to us, the research behind it, the good parts, the things we support, and maybe the things that we don't like about it, or that could get a little bit better. So throughout the course of the show,
and we have examples.
Yes, we do. But we're going to be, as we typically do, opening up phone lines, and we want to know what you think. What's good? What do you enjoy about this as paranormal enthusiasts?
This could get scary.
It probably will, but hey, listen, this is what you, the viewer, signed up for.
It's what you asked for. It's what you asked for. You can't put the blame on us. Anyway,
messed up. You trusted us.
Everybody in the chat, welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Very important. Also, don't forget to hit the reminder bell for upcoming content. We'll be talking about that throughout the show tonight. Some of the content that is currently existing, you have to check out. And, of course, don't forget the thumbs up. Smash that. Smash the thumbs up. Very important for us to keep the wheels turning of progress with regards to this. Now, we were just talking to our producer, Bill of KGRA, who was showing us these very intricate graphs. It was kind of, I don't know if it was about our show and about KGRA, or it was regards to why the price of gas is so high. Had all these graphs and charts and everything. And he said, you guys don't even realize, yes, you've got people in the chat that come in each and every week, and then you got people who watch post live also. He says, but the other services that are podcast services that you have no idea how many people are listening to that. The hell you doing listening to a podcast? You don't have a screen on your phone?
Right.
You don't have one tablet in your entire home? Hell,
Right.
you can now do it to your television right there in the
Well,
living room. Boom.
I,
Here we
I,
are. Now you
I've
see
been
faces.
I've been following this now,
Go ahead, Ken.
and maybe it's a 50-50 split. It's gotten a little bit better. The amount of people who watch this show who are subscribers as opposed to non-subscribers, somewhere around 51 and 49. So I want to speak directly to you 49ers out there. It's like, do us a solid, hit the subscribe button. Okay, as they say in YouTube parlance, it's important because it shows us that people are watching, people are invested in it, and we'd like to stay invested in it. So I know that every show you go to, hit the subscribe button. It's like, I know. It's like, why can't I just watch the show? Well, you can for the low price of nothing. If you subscribe, it sends a message to YouTube that, hey, we should pay attention to these guys. We should promote these guys. We should get this show a little bit higher profile. All of this kind of stuff works. So for all you people who don't know what's the big deal about it, it is a big deal. It's called an algorithm, and this is how they figure out who's watching what and what we should promote. So if you want more people to watch us, and even if you don't want more people to watch us, go ahead and click the subscribe button. What the hell? The price of gas these days, what do you got to lose?
Here's what you're going to experience tonight on Dead Air Live. Two grumpy old men. Now, we've used that cliche in the past, but I think it'll be appropriate tonight. 13 straight days of driving into hell, driving into Daytona. And Ken has been burning the candle at both ends on a lot of different fronts, which is what we're going to get into here. But, this is a gripe session. At the same time, we're also going to kind of fix things here in the paranormal. Within the next 2 hours, everything will be perfect in the paranormal. Oh, Jesus, it's Cody.
Yeah, I know.
But
Tori will not be far behind, I'm sure.
we're gonna do things our way tonight. And hey, Ken, I understand we have a lot of West Coast listeners also, and they're
Yeah.
very health oriented, very center and the metaphysical part of it. And I know for a lot of people who in today's society, you kind of get turned off by anyone who smokes, and normally we'll just do vape or whatever. But tonight,
I'm glad you took the wrap off before you went up into flames. Thank you for that.
Yeah, the first take, it didn't work that well with that. The bandages and fire doesn't work.
Right.
Now I understand where the mummy suffered a lot. But again, one of the things we wanted to talk about, Ken, is for those people who are joining from elsewhere besides YouTube and Facebook, some great new material that's also on our show, and I need you to address that for our audience, please, if you could.
Yes, of course. We have 2 new original programming shows on Dead Air Full Spectrum, which is why I want you to subscribe to that. It's why George wants you to subscribe to it. And
Twice.
basically, the first show is called Extremely Strange, and what it is 15, 20, maybe a half hour segments of yours truly sitting there here in my fake studio, which is basically my front room, telling you weird stories, true stories, and they could be paranormal related, they could be crime related, just bizarre things that happen in our world, and we try to break them down. Now, there's a lot of people that are doing that. What makes my show different? I give you 2 perspectives. I don't just come at you from it's spooky and supernatural. I will give you a reasonable explanation for it, and leave it to you, the viewer, to decide, do I buy it or do I not? So it's a little bit different in that regard. It's called Extremely Strange. You should visit it. This week I am doing the Valentic UFO disappearance in Australia
Oh,
from the late 70s. And there is also another show that we just debuted last Monday, and it's called
yes.
Monday Night Monsters. It's hosted by Ron Murphy, who some of you may know from Robert England, Freddy Krueger's show on Travel Channel a couple of years back, where he was doing the expert commentary on it. Thank you so much, Michelle. I appreciate that. Yes, it's supposed to be fun, Mary Beth. Yeah, you know. Um, and he's joined by Christopher Rondina, a local author, historian. Basically, they're legend hunters, both of them. And they're going to break down monsters, just as the show says, when they give you the origins of the werewolf, the vampire, Frankenstein, where all of this came from. And that debuted last Monday. It will be on tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So we're hoping to build on that by bringing people in with more original programming. We got the talk show thing pretty much covered, but what we want to do is bring you some other things, some lifestyle things, some things that, doesn't amount to a couple of talking heads like us. So subscribe, notification bell, Dead Air Full Spectrum. You'll love it. Trust me. Would I steer you wrong?
Should we do it? Should we do a show about first aid after a major local event?
The
I'm just
what?
saying, first aid. We can how to apply when. No, I guess I'm not going to do that then. All right.
No, you're not going to do that. For those of you who missed it, we just unwrapped George like
Yeah.
King Tut.
Here's a teaser of Monday Night Show.
Since the first humans shivered around campfires, staring nervously into the darkness beyond, we've shared stories of the terrible creatures of the night. You'll find them in every culture. Ghosts and the undead, shapeshifters and devils, and some things too terrifying to name. Today we tell ourselves such things are nonsense, nothing more than scary stories to frighten children. Until darkness comes, the lights go out, and we all know in the pit of our souls, there are monsters in the night. Join legend hunters Ronald Murphy and Christopher Rondina as they venture into darkness to unearth the strange and terrifying creatures of legend and folklore. Grab some garlic and wolfsbane and get ready for Monday Night Monsters. Premiering Monday, March 7th at 8 p.m., only on YouTube's Dead Air Full Spectrum.
I know, right?
This film has not yet been rated. Don't
No, it
watch it
has
with
not.
the lights off. Good.
I know it has not, but the guys are great, and they are both academic, but at the same time really entertaining when they start getting into the.
Thank you, Android.
Hey, Android, thank you, sir. When they start getting into the nuts and bolts of these things, as far as legends of the werewolf, how this all began, and how it plays into contemporary society and movies and things like. They're both movie buffs, so there'll be a lot of that too. So give them a listen, give the channel a listen, push it, push it, push it, share it on social media, wake up the neighbors and the children, and get them to watch it.
Yeah. I put the line up there so you guys can call in here in a little bit. I know Ron is already ready to call in, but we got a few more things we're definitely going to cover. And again, we got some examples of things that people are doing out there that we may not be in agreement with. Now, we've seen a couple of wonderful compliments just now in the chat from you guys saying, you learn a lot about this field and techniques and what it is that we do. Listen, we're not the we're not the end all be all of answers with regards to the paranormal. We still are always learning, always evolving. At the same time, there's nobody out there that is reaching out to us in the paranormal field saying, "Oh, soothsayer, please give us the wisdom of it." So, everybody's got their own perspective on this. We just happen to have our own and a show. So we do that here.
Yeah, and you will listen to us.
That's it. What are you going to do? Turn us off, click exit. Don't be.
Yeah.
Ken, last 3, 4, maybe days. Again, stress related, fatigue, all these different things. I've been getting more and more of those night terrors again. Um, and the interesting part to it, and I'll give you the summation of the part where I woke up from the panic of it. One of them, particularly, was some sort of a spell book or demonic book. And in each of these occurrences, the one particular thing, and I want you to kind of analyze this in your brain if this was a client telling you this, but in each one of these cases, I am asking for proof, which is what we kind of look for when we go out and we do validation of these paranormal haunts. And with the book, I'm like, can you open the page of the book? Or, and you just posted something just recently on this YouTube page of the pages being compressed while you were out there investigating with Cody and Satori and Rise of Paranormal. But in this case here, this book, which had some very demonic type writing on it, did open up, and then a hand started coming up out of it. And I woke up from that, just that feeling, that presence again, that evil was there. Second one was being in a location with a bunch of people and realizing that the back of my shirt was being pulled up. And I was asking, requesting for that. And I was turning to everybody and saying, see, I told you I wasn't joking around. This is actually happening. And mind you, as I'm saying this, guys, this is all night dreams. That dreams, nightmares, whatever you want to call it. John Zaffis calls them night terrors. And I realized as I asked for the shirt to be lifted up that there was a presence right behind me. Woke up again. And the third one was just last night, having this beautiful, almost Winchester House type mansion being given to me to do investigate. Had a lot of wear and tear, had a lot of work to be done on it, but walking through the halls of this majestic, beautiful piece of history had really affected me again, walking through, knowing that there was something looming within the walls of this place. Your take on that aspect of me in every one of these circumstances, looking for validation, asking for that connection, that contact, why I continue to do that in these night terrors. And the second thing is the intricacy of these dreams, detail wise, whether it was the book or whether it was this mansion, which I've never been to, but can the detail to I mean minutia that you could pick out walking through this place as if I had been there 100 times, but in your dream, the specificity of what it is that you are experiencing is like being awake. I don't understand it myself.
I mean, I'm not a dream interpreter. There are people who are very good about that. There are people who think they're very good about that. But you can get information as far as what you see in your dreams, whether it's an action, whether it's an object, and what the representation of that is supposed to mean. And anyone can do that. I mean, this is something that you can do yourself. I would recommend you not do it from a paranormal website, but a psychology website with dream interpretation. The other thing to me is that, and I would tell anybody who went into this thing, and you've probably been advised to do this, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you probably haven't, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. We always recommend that people do this. Are you doing it? Are you keeping a journal of this stuff?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so here's the thing, and
That's for girls.
yeah, it's for girls. It's for girls and people who have night terrors or girls who have night terrors.
I'm not going to do Dear Diary. I'm just not going
But
to do it.
the deal is
I'm a
when you
guy.
get these things in front of you, and you should do them if possible as soon as you awaken, because over the course of the day, your filters are going to be up and you're going to forget this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it's vivid now you're recalling this type of thing, and that's fine. That's great. But there is a common denominator that's running through that. What I would say Yes, we're back, Satori. What I would say is that you may want to add into that journal, and even if you speak into your phone without writing it, hit record and do a running dialogue. What I would do is include what you did that day. If it's absolutely mundane and nothing's going on, then that's fine. The last 13 days you've been through hell down there. So if something out of the ordinary happens during the day that might play into these type of things, you need to find out what your triggers are, because everything has a trigger, and it does. And we think that, well, nothing out of the ordinary happened today, but we don't know what those triggers are. And sometimes we become prisoners of those things. So what I would suggest that you do, I can't tell you burn sage, eat a pepperoni before you go to bed, suck on a lemon or something holistic like that. But what you need to do is come to grips with your own patterns here and what may contribute to this type of thing. Because when you see it in front of you and play it back, a lot of times you find a common denominator running through it, which
So
is
it's
not
my
to say you will.
it's my hazelnut coffee creamer. Then is what you're saying.
Okay, so case solved, right?
No,
It very
you
well
know,
could be.
you want me to write all this? You know, the last thing that I wrote down, Ken.
You are always pushing your freaking books. So obviously,
Well, no,
you
this is
sat at a computer
this is
and you
important.
did this, but if you're going to do something to help yourself, you have an issue with it.
It's an example of frame of reference. But this in a flicker, available on Amazon.com, written by myself and Andrea Parent, is the last thing that I wrote. And so for me to sit down and do a dear journal, I'm gonna, again, can't teach an old dog new tricks. I am probably not in a position to do something like that.
But you can't
I,
starve an old dog until he shows up, right?
that's
So,
true. That's true.
okay.
But anyway, we have a caller. Android is in the queue. We're going to be taking some of the phone calls in there from Maryland. Android, good evening. You are on Dead Air Live.
Android, is this a handle or are you actually an Android? I just want to know before we answer.
Well, just the handle.
And can you fix mine? That's all I want to know. All right.
That's awesome. Okay, we've had our fun. What's going on tonight, Android?
Not much, man. Before we get into it, I just want to say, if anybody is listening without subscribing, you guys are crazy. If you guys just click subscribe, you're not going to get notifications if you don't click that bell. So you definitely should do it.
I like this guy.
Yeah,
I like this guy.
My girlfriend's one of those people. I'm like, why didn't you subscribe? You watch this, channel all the time. Oh, I just don't want to get the notifications. Oh, you're not going to get them if you don't click the bell.
Yeah, I mean, we're not into the whole idea we want to ping your phone 700 times a day. That's annoying. But,
yeah, once a week, you'll get a notification. That's basically it. If there's a show you're going to watch, once it's posted, and usually Ken's the one who posts it on Friday or Saturday, you get one notification. That's it. Well, it's not nonstop.
And we're done. And we're done here.
Bill, is there any way, Bill, we could put Android on the payroll? So let's find that out, too.
Yeah. Yeah, cut this guy a check.
Contribute, just volunteers. I'm more than happy. I've only been watching your guys' show a couple of months, but I really enjoy it.
Thank
you. You guys were talking about earlier, just the good things and the bad things of the paranormal, and I was just sitting here thinking, imagine a world where there wasn't people who fake stuff. What would we be today? If that didn't exist. When I see stuff that's fake, it really frustrates me as somebody who's seen something myself, it's out there, you've seen it yourself, it's there. And so when you see people, every time somebody does that, it just, further discredits the field, each time.
Yeah, let me ask you this. When people get wrapped up in this thing, and we might as well get into this because I was going to talk a little bit about this. People have the biggest issue people have is we're not taken seriously. Science doesn't take us seriously. Okay, academics don't take us seriously in this. Can you imagine being on the opposite end of this and seeing everything that's put out there, like you're speaking of it now, people that obviously you're photoshopping stuff, using, Adobe Premiere Pro to make ghosts, and video editing is amazing these days. With all this kind of stuff, and we're going to show actually a couple of clips tonight that we've got loaded of things that, just come on, folks, how can you be taken seriously when one piece of evidence can undo 100 pieces of really good evidence? The things that we should be focusing on that we legitimately can't explain. And yet we want science to take us seriously. It's like, well, if we're going to look for clicks, and if we're going to do YouTube shows and TikTok shows where we run around screaming and everything like that, you know what? We've gotten what we deserve. Would you agree with that, Android?
Absolutely, and you hit it right on the head. I mean, I've noticed that a lot of people who fake stuff are probably people who believe in it to begin with, but they just get too carried away with it and trying to get attention with it, and it just ruins everything for everybody.
Yeah, but let me disagree with both of you guys on this a little bit, at least my perspective on it. And I'll ask you, Android. May I call you Mr. Android or Annie?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. With the different shows that have been on for the last 15 years, percentage-wise, how much of what they presented would you say was factual evidence, literally a paranormal experience, versus production?
Oh man, it's probably less than half. I'd say maybe a third.
Okay. Now, how much of the paranormal field was materialized by these shows, would you say, in the last 15 years?
Oh, probably majority of it, a lot.
Right. That's, it's called a necessary evil. And I've talked about this before also, because we all know the same thing, and we've said this time and again. Nobody is going to be convinced of the paranormal, no matter what you put out there, including what's been happening with Can Rise Up Paranormal and Cody and Satori, until you have that actual experience yourself. And we hear that kickoff of a statement from people time and again. I didn't believe in ghosts until, and it wasn't until I saw this video. I'm sorry?
Yeah. Sometimes you get those people who said, I don't believe in it, but there was this one time. So they've had an experience and they still don't even believe.
No, it's got to be something either repetitive, and it also has to be some sort of a feverish addiction to getting that experience again. I have that. Ken has that. When you have had that kind of a profound sight, sound, touch, smell, whatever it may be that you experience within paranormal, you want to get back to it again, either because you're looking for an explanation, you're looking for that next fix with regards to the existence of it. It happened again. I know it happened again. It's not my mind. It's not the elements around me. There is something paranormal that's occurring here. But there are others out there that will never be able to make that connection, no matter how many times they go out and investigate, no matter how many experiences, they'll never find that passion within the field. But again, percentage wise, I think that's on the low end as compared to the people who have that experience and want more.
You're right, George. I agree too. I mean, the first experience I ever had, I was 12 years old and I still didn't believe. I mean, I heard the loudest laugh, like a cackling lady right in the room next to me, in my grandmother's house. I was 12 years old and I still didn't believe it. My parents, it's probably somebody walking by, but it was broad daylight, and they didn't hear it. And how could I hear it and them not hear it, and I still didn't believe it. I just took their explanation. It took me until I got older, to finally have another experience that was completely undeniable, just a giant orb floating through my backyard that my dog ran towards. And sometimes I think if my dog wasn't there to see it too and run towards it, I might not have even believed it still.
Hang on, Android. I'm putting some holy water over my computer after hearing about your cackling laugh thing. Man, it's scary.
It's enough to get your attention.
Bad juju.
But here's the deal, right? You were 12 years old when this happened. You probably didn't record it. You probably didn't film it. You probably didn't have a camera. Right. Okay? Yep. And what I tell people is it's perfectly okay to have a personal experience, and not regret I didn't have a camera. I didn't have a video. Because at the end of it, it all depends on your own belief system, right? Because
Yep.
the people that are pursuing this have a certain belief system in it. And somewhere along the way, what motivates them and keeps them going in it is that something has happened at some point. I think that what happens is people get into the idea of having to prove the existence of it. And I think that's where you go backwards. If your reason for going anywhere is, I'm going to prove ghosts exist, you're already coming at it from a bias, and this is why when people go places, how many do you know go to a place, tell everybody about it, and walk away from it and say, it was quiet, nothing really happened? Probably not many, because that just seems to be self-defeating, right? I mean, you want to come away and say, well, it was, the catch-all phrases, oh, it was very active. Well, how so exactly? Did you hear voices? Did you see an apparition? Did you see shadows? Did something float across the room? What do you mean active? So I think we get wrapped up in this documentation and proof of it. We're all trying to do that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to film and document, but it's okay to have a personal experience and not
Sure.
feel bad about it,
Yeah.
that you can't show it to the world. And I think that sometimes this type of thing motivates people to create things and embellish things, and sometimes even hoax things, because a true paranormal experience is not as common as we'd like to believe they are, or that we're led to believe they are.
No, it's totally spontaneous. It'll happen when you least expect it.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Exactly right. And then, you know what? But that's something that belongs to you. That's yours. That's your experience. And it's okay to hold on to that. And whatever that creates in your own belief system of this field, hey, wear it like a badge of honor. It's like, and then maybe someday you document something and say to everybody, here it is. But it's okay to have your own experience and let that guide your own principles as far as the paranormal field.
And in truth, as Ken, following up what Ken is saying, there is some sort of a brotherhood, sisterhood, paranormal hood, Jiggy, that's for you, with regards to having that personal experience, Android, and then somebody else you run across, perhaps at one of these conventions, and they say, this happened to me, and you're like, oh my God, same thing. Now you have a connection to somebody that you can share this with, and not the naysayers that when you say, I have this experience, let me explain it away. And this is why it was the wind, it was the electrical current, it's whatever. No, this is something that I've experienced and other people have experienced too. And you become part of this family of experience sources. So, and God bless to you, man. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you as a listener also. But we're going to move on. If there's anything else first, Android, I'll leave you that last word. Go ahead.
Sure.
Thanks for taking my call, guys. I really appreciate it, and good talking to you guys.
Hey, anytime, man. Call back. You're always welcome here.
Yeah, fix my phone, for crying out loud, Jesus. We'll keep the calls in, and I'll put the number back up there. But we have our dear friend Ronald in Minnesota. Ronald, you're joining us, and joining us also. Ronald, you're so special. I guess he knew you were coming in, Ronald. So guess who decided to show up? The TV guy.
TV guy. I heard Ronald was coming on, so I had to jump on.
Yeah, that's like you're taking the rest of the night off now. We just got the average age of this show just got a whole lot younger.
I know. Here we go. Watch. Here we go. Okay, it's the Cody show.
Welcome back.
Whoa! Unnecessary close up.
Look how scary.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
the
the beginning, you. Yeah. George, you haven't written anything, but you've written that
Hey,
book.
Satori's with him.
Yeah, Satori, you're not looking yourself today, sweetheart.
I mean, it's coming. It's like she's coming down with something.
Oh no.
She's
Ron?
in chat right now. Somebody's going to get their ass kicked.
Yeah, sorry, I'm treating this like one of Ken and I's 2-hour phone calls during the daytime. Ron, you are live on Dead Air Live.
Yes, Ron.
Go ahead with your question,
All
sir.
right. Well, thank you for taking the call, and thank you for this wonderful show. Um, yeah, I would encourage you, George, if you are having these experiences, if you have anything that you remember, even if it's the smallest thing, to write it down. You know what I mean? Get those, the composition books you used to have in school, your notebooks, you get those and just take a page a day, 31 days, try it. Now next month is a 30-day month, but, what, July, next 31-day month. Okay.
If
So
I,
then you can,
Ron, if I wrote down my dreams in a journal, it could be used as evidence in a court of law. I'm
that's
just
why you
not
don't
going to
do it.
take
I
that
got
risk.
you.
I
Um,
agree.
All right,
and
so
it has
you were
nothing to do with
asking,
yeah.
go ahead.
If
You were
if you
asking at the sorry.
you first, Ron, go ahead. You have something to say. Go ahead.
I was going to say that at the beginning of the show, you had mentioned what do you like or don't like about the paranormal field, and what I like about it is now we can actually talk about it, whether it be jokingly or serious, and somebody's going to listen. That's the positive thing right there. Okay, you're either going to have haters or you're going to have lovers that love your story and they're going to want to research it. Um, Most of the time it's going to be the common story that everyone is, occurring to, like ghosts in the house or noises or smells or weird stuff happening. That's going to be the normal stuff. Unless you're like you guys and some of the investigators like Cody and Story and other people that are out there that are doing this work in a real sense and they're trying to evaluate what's going on, then they're going to hear more things, you know. In a reality sense, though, on the ground level of somebody who's not really investigating, just experiencing, um, we can accept what we're seeing as something. We might not know what it is, but it's something. So we're not imagining it. We're not going crazy. There is something there, or they wouldn't have everyone investigating it if it wasn't. And then we can actually freely express ourselves by sharing our story with somebody who is trying to evaluate it. Now you can, or yeah, Ken, you had told me about the smell of cherry. It could be actually the wood in the basement, right?
Sure.
And you mentioned that the open rafters in the basement or the attic or something like that in a 1945 house could actually create that smell when it warms up or whatever. And so I think that that's a possible answer. I'm not sure, but I'm going to accept that as a possible answer. And I'm not saying that nothing's happening here. I'm just saying that that smell idea, that makes sense to me. Then that's one answer right there. That's a possibility. So I'm going to accept that. I'm not
Yeah,
going to worry about it. I'm going to smell it. I'm going to enjoy the smell. Say I like the cherry smell, and I'm going to go on from there. You know.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
so, now I do think that it's wonderful that we are so open with this, but I think we still need to take it seriously, and we need to be really careful about how we're getting into it. What is our intention is the main key. Okay, if we have a positive intention or a curiosity about it, that's okay. But be very careful about the doors that you open. Like you said before, don't. Some people have said don't mess with the Ouija boards or whatever. You just can't. You can't just close that door unless you know exactly how to do it correctly. But we're going with little stuff like cards or maybe even a pendulum. That's okay. But you're still kind of dabbling in that door opening. So be ready for it and understand. Like some people have said, you don't know who you're talking to from the other side. So I want to thank you guys for all that you do and the things that you make me realize and you bring to our attention, whether we want to accept it or believe it or whatever. At least it's there in the open and it's brought up to our mental awareness, and we can maybe accept it and learn from it. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome, Ron. And
Thank you, Ron.
along those lines, I want to bring Cody in because it's kind of why I had my head down a little bit, because he was in chat and I said, "Hey, we're doing this tonight, so come on in and shoot the breeze with us." But I'm going to ask you, Cody, because you will forever be a youngin. Whether you like it or not. Now you
I
came
don't like
to.
it.
That's okay. This said the guy who had his head wrapped in a gauze before you. If you missed that part of
Famous,
the show,
good looking, television personality. He's got it all.
who
Owns a mansion and a
who
yacht.
who you talk? You're still talking to Cody, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, listen, Cody, when you came to this at whatever years old,
Yeah.
15, 17, whatever, you came into this in the TV era already.
Yeah.
All right. George and I did not.
Yeah.
Okay. So by the time you decided, hey, I want to jump into this, and I understand you had an experience when you were younger.
Yeah.
But this is how you came into this. This stuff was already burgeoning. It was on TV.
Yeah.
The culture was changing.
Yeah.
And all of that. I mean, how much did that mean to you? How much did it influence you? Because I see, and I'm going to stop talking in a minute, but I think for a lot of a younger generation of investigators, this was their template.
Yeah.
Get on TV, do a show, get famous, and this is how it all plays out. And you
Yeah.
came into that. I'm not saying that was your path, because I know better, but you came to this in that type of generation. So what did it mean to you in terms of motivation or interest, or did it mean anything at all?
Sure. I really started becoming serious into the paranormal genre, a whole investigating team formation type deal around like 2011, and the shows have already, been well established by that point. But still, around that time frame, the shows were a bit different than what they are today. I mean, some of them are still the same. Of course, Ghost Hunters was in its prime back then, and that's the show that I was hooked to, ironically, and that investigation sense is what a lot of teams have built their foundations upon. So I guess that was good from that standpoint. But that was only part of it. I was still the type of person that loved to get hands on and research myself. Because the paranormal has, of course, been around for a long time, decades before any of the television shows were even thought of, as you guys know. And there has been a foundation that's already been built before these TV shows came about. So I guess it depends what type of investigator you were willing to be. Were you wanted to get scared, the heck scared out of you, or did you want to help families? And I think that kind of leads you on your path. You start gravitating towards the shows that are more jump scares if you're in for the thrill of it. If you're in for the more family helping situation, then you might start watching Ghost Hunters and get wrapped into that way. So I think the TV shows kind of pull you in different directions based on what you want to do in this field. And I was pulled towards the direction of helping people.
Yeah, I mean, and I've talked about this for a long time, the yin and yang.
Yeah.
Because we always come back around to television, because for a lot of people, this is their exposure to it.
Yeah.
Maybe they haven't got a ghost. They've never been ghost hunting. They've never called a ghost hunter. There's been no need to, but they're interested in this, and TV is their delivery system for it. And the good, and Ron mentioned it, and we've said this, it's less of a taboo subject because it's out there now and people think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
The yang to it, I think it creates unrealistic expectations for people as far as what we do and who we are. And a lot of that I see, I lay the blame at some of the performance art that I see, mostly, but not all, on streaming services and on social media, whether it's TikTok, YouTube, whatever, where people are imitating what they think is going on TV. Like if I hear a noise, I absolutely have to lose my mind. And you, Cody, We've been together and done this for so many years now.
Yeah.
If there's a knock or a bang, you know that in the real, we just look at each other, point to our ears like I heard something, somebody will nod their head. We don't go running into the other room.
Yeah.
Like let it keep happening. Let it play itself out. Why are we going to like sprint across the room or go up a bunch of stairs, fall on our heads, break our necks for something that is probably going to stop and we're not going to see anything out of place? We may be listening to something residual.
Yeah.
It's awesome
Yeah.
that we are in and of itself in a vacuum. There's not a ghost up there moving a chair. It's just we're tapping into something in the past. But I think people get that unrealistic expectation of what it is that we do because they're only tied to us is some of these things where, as far as I'm concerned, they're all performance art.
Yes.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are done to be little mini horror movies. That's all they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
fear sells. You've always said this, Ken, and to this day, that's still the truth. And we've seen it. Sadora and myself have definitely seen it on TikTok and some of the newer platforms that are coming out. That a lot of the urban explorers are starting to incorporate paranormal into their videos, which is okay. But you can
It's
see
fun.
that shift. You can see that shift happening where urban exploring was cool in itself, but now you have to add in the paranormal sense because fear sells, and you get a whole different drama sense to your video when you're scared. And it kind of adds that whole Blair Witch vibe to it when you're seeing it in first person. And that was a phenomenon in itself, that movie. So they're just recreating formats that have already been successful, and they're running with it, and it's working
Mhm.
for them. So you can definitely see that happening today. And it's going to be interesting to see where that goes and how that skews in the future to something else. It's going to be incorporated into something else eventually, and who knows? I mean, I definitely see that the extraterrestrial phenomena is popping up a lot more now these days too. A lot more videos on aliens and UFOs and things like that. So I definitely think that it's like a roller coaster. I mean, paranormal is sometimes at the top, and then it dives down into something else, and then paranormal comes back with ghosts and things like that. So it's going to
Mhm.
be interesting to see what happens.
I think what happens a lot of times with these shows, especially Ghost Hunters, for an example, Ghost Adventures, they've been around a long time. I think people get invested into the cast
Yeah.
and their particular personalities. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with being entertaining because nobody is going to watch a boring show. And I
Right.
understand that. But I think that people who follow these things try to take their cue from television in terms of how they should act, how they should react to things. And then it's not really organic. And there are some people who are outstanding
Yeah.
at the filming, the editing, the graphics, and they really put on an entertaining program. But at the end of the day, you can have all the bells and whistles and all the transitions and all the fancy studio stuff. But at the end of the day, man, what it comes down to is the story, the content of what it is that you're trying to tell, whether it's a family or a location, whatever the case may be. You can have all the fancy bells and whistles, but give me the story, what's going on here, the content of what's happening. And I think people who investigate this, we kind of look at it that way.
Right.
Like, I want to hear the story. I want to flesh this out. I want background because we want to be challenged to come with a conclusion or an answer for it.
Right. Right, and that's the type of people we are. That's why we gravitate to certain shows more than others, because some shows tell that storyline more prominently,
Yeah.
and other shows they tend to show just the investigative side and trying to find the ghost, which is okay too. I mean, it all depends on what you want to watch and what interests you, but we tend to more follow the types of shows and the type of content that's put forth that shares that storyline, because no matter what happens on the paranormal side of things, we're still interested because it's an interesting story. You're telling a story, and of course, there's a lot of I mean, we've all done the public events and things like that, and of course, people's expectations, if you've only seen television shows, are extremely high that something paranormal would happen. You're going to get EVPs, 100 EVPs, that night, a dozen EVPs or whatever, or something's going to move. And a lot of times nothing happens. But you have to remember that episode of television that you've watched, at least, from my perspective, the times I've filmed with Ghost Nation or Ghost Hunters, it was a week long, literally a week long process of investigating, condensed down to 40 minutes, and you're only seeing highlights of the best stuff that happened, and because that's the interesting stuff. Like you said, you don't want to see a boring show, so it's all condensed down. It takes a lot of time, and it's not going to happen on command always. But yeah, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and I want people in chat to weigh on in this as well, because we're talking like the door only swinging one way, but the door swings both ways, because you have people who call us in who are being influenced by the TV shows as well.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, and those of you who do this or maybe belong to a group, that is very prominent in your mind when you go into this. I guess it's one of the yangs to the yin. I'm glad that they come forward and put the faith in us, but to be honest with you, when you go into somebody's house, you're always looking at their DVD collection or their book collection to see if they have some type of predilection or draw toward the paranormal that may be influencing their story. Because full disclosure here, folks, sometimes you go into a place and they just want to know what it's like to have paranormal investigators in the house. And this is where 20 people, you meet 20 people in the house and you're the entertainment for the night. So there's an influence there as well that as an investigator, you can't wrap your arms around. In fact, you have to keep it at arm's length sometimes when you go into these places. But it's a reality that you have to deal with this. Television, social media is a powerful influencer. This is why people on social media are called influencers. There's a reason that they've been given that title, because they can influence people to buy a product, to think a certain way, to dress a certain way, to talk and act a certain way. And it's no different in the paranormal field. So I'd like to know what you guys think, number one, but with the people in chat, how do you approach? TV shows gets the brunt of this, but social media, TikTok, YouTube, all those things, there are probably, hundreds of thousands of more of those type of shows than there are on network TV. How do you approach them? You just sort of like, okay, it's entertainment and I'll let it go to that, or do you really become invested in it?
Yeah, I think honestly, for those people that do have those type of questions tonight, especially those of you that are listening on Spreaker or some of the other podcasts, you guys make sure you get a chance to call in after the break, 855-472-5483. That's 85-KGRA Live. For those who have been under a paranormal rock for the last 15 years, and since you guys have relocated, Cody, and we'd love for you to stay for the next half, because we got some videos that we want to post out there also that seems to be kicking ass on TikTok and other airwaves. But Ghost Hunters, where can everybody check out the episodes that are happening right now?
Sure. So Ghost Hunters is airing on Discovery Plus right now.
Nice.
The original seasons, all of them are uploaded there, and the new seasons. And also starting on March 16th, the new episodes are going to start airing on regular cable television on Travel Channel. So for those that don't have Discovery Plus, you'll be able to see some of the new episodes airing on cable.
Did you get? They give you a company car yet? Just because I heard you ride the Deathmobile, and I'm just
No,
Who told you that?
I'm happy with my car. I'm happy with.
I know, but
Happy with
you are a precious gem in this paranormal field for us, and we don't want anything to happen to you. You make sure you make sure. Well, we're talking about Satori predominantly, and who's this Jolene, by the way? That's next to you. Give everybody a little information on her. You got about 60 seconds.
Jolene. So real quick story. She came from a daycare facility in Connecticut. And basically her story was the owner of this facility brought her in because she thought that she would be great for the kids. So she sat her down in a metal chair in the playroom. And everything was good. The kids would walk up to her and kind of hold her arm and hold her feet and have a conversation. And then it turned a little darker. The children started running to the staff members crying, saying that Jolene here was calling them names, calling them ugly and making them cry. So this kind of weirded them out that all of the kids were having these same imaginary feelings, but it turned out not to be imaginary. A couple weeks later, the staff member opens up the facility for the first time, opening up in the morning. She was the same person that opened every single day, walks in, and Jolene is no longer sitting in her chair. She's now in the middle of the playroom. This absolutely freaks her out. She runs out of the building, waits for other staff members to show up. This happened another time after that, and that was the last straw that warranted the call to the museum for us to come pick her up. And she is probably one of the most active objects we have in the museum. She's moved around quite often, but is very camera shy, unfortunately. She's one of the only objects that we haven't recorded moving yet, which is interesting. I definitely think that Spirit knows when a camera's on them. Which is
maybe she just wants a juice box.
Yeah,
possibly. We could try that out.
She might be offended that she's being referred to as an object.
She's not. Well, no, none of the objects are truly objects. We like to be friendly to everybody, and Satori's the one who likes to talk to them all. So tell this.
And it's nice of her. She's letting the men talk tonight. So
that's true. That's true.
And for those of you who are wondering where Satori actually is, while Cody is here with us, she's actually mocking him on TikTok. So you guys can make sure you check that out. That's Paranormal Couple on TikTok. We got to go to a break here, guys. On the other side, we got a couple of videos we want to kick at you. I've also got some starred comments that were made earlier that I want to bring up, and more with regards to two grumpy old men and this young buck. So we'll be back right after the break. You're watching Dead Air Live on Dead Air Full Spectrum. Stay with us.
Hello, who is it? How'd you get this number?
Hey, Ken. Hey, man, it's George. Hey, man, what are you doing?
Right now, I'm trying to chop ice off of my deck here before somebody breaks their neck. What are you doing today?
Me? Oh, ghost hunting. Hey, listen, Bill from KGRA wants us to do a commercial, a promo for the show for them to play. Got any ideas?
I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to film a commercial or something like that. Well, hey, why don't we just do a montage or something, like clips from the show, and just call it a day?
Okay, yeah. Just put a bunch of highlighted parts of the show. Not a problem. I'll take care of that. Listen, have a great day. I'm almost done here.
Yeah, all right, man. Let me know how you make out, all right? Yeah, you bet. Be good. I'm okay.
Tony, I love you.
I love you too. Yeah, you know what? That's why I hate when they say, "Oh, the people in the Northeast are so rude." I'm like, "F you! I'm down here and I'm being nice, and everybody's like, you know, not even a wave." I'm like, "You're not going to get the coronavirus from waving at somebody."
A little close up view. Check this out. Hello.
Hang on, let's get us on camera again so we can wave. Wave back, Robert.
Yep.
If you wait.
Robert, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing some time, inviting us into your home.
I co-authored a book with Andrea Perrin. If anybody was not aware of
no,
that.
no one is aware of that.
No, and I've never been to the Conjuring house.
I wrote a book
We're gonna do this again.
with Andrea Perrin, and I've still never been to the farmhouse.
Did I mention I wrote a book with Andrea? I wanted to, it's over my shoulder there, and I've never been.
We took a 2-week absence from this, and
I've
now we're
never
back with.
been to the Conjuring house.
Dude, I'm hiding, man. It's over. Oh, I'm sorry. It's
What's going on?
Love that blanket. I'm having blanket envy.
I know you are right now, right?
Yes.
Sometimes I move it around with my body. It's like Ouija meets Twister. In the middle of the night, I contact spirits just by rolling around on it naked.
Watch Dead Air on KGRADB.com Sundays from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
And also, don't forget to check out KGRA YouTube and KGRA on Facebook for all the amazing shows, guests, and topics. Did I mention that I wrote a book with Andrea Perrin?
See if we move. Oh! Okay, hold on. Give me the lighter. I need to...
Light it. Okay, why did that take so long? Was it the wrong key?
No.
Is there cameras in there? Why would there be cameras? Grandpa crazy. Oh, it's just a bedroom? Are you going in?
Fuck no, I'm getting a bad feeling about this.
I don't feel good. Nah, I don't. I'm getting
This is why white people die in movies, bruh.
Nah. We have black up in this beach.
Oh my god, I just got so lightheaded.
What is that?
Hang in there.
I just got...
Corbin, don't be going for this stuff.
I just got so lightheaded. Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. I got lightheaded as soon as I walked in here.
Yeah.
You are not welcome here.
Oh, my head's itching. I
If
think
there's
there's
any
lights
spirits
in here.
leave. You are not welcome.
Why is Santa Claus locked up?
That thing's creepy.
Why, Santa, why are you locked up? It could be an object in here.
Yeah.
Did your grandpa ever think about that? Like, it could be an object. You could just burn the whole room. What are you doing in the closet, dude?
Oh, my back's burning.
Is it really?
Bitch, my back's
Do you have
burning.
scratch marks in it? I don't know.
Oh my god!
No, you're kidding.
Stop.
No,
Get out. Get out. Get out.
You
Get out.
have
Get out.
3
Get out. Get out.
scratch marks up your back.
Stop.
No, you do.
Stop, you're giving me anxiety.
Oh my
Show me it.
fucking god!
You're kidding, right? You're
No!
kidding. Look.
You ready, Cody? Over 2 million views.
That's because they watched to the end.
It's not because you watched to the end. It's simply because of the
They
fact
told us to watch to the end.
They know how to work social media better than we do. That's the bottom line to it. 2 million views for that. And go ahead and analyze that, Cody. Did you see the pattern of the scratches?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, this is it's interesting. Though, I mean, those videos are definitely doing very well on TikTok. As far as that particular situation, of course, you could speculate, but none of us were there. But I do know that those videos are extremely popular. We did for a while on our channel, our TikTok channel, we did a segment where we had people send us videos, and then we would repost them. And one particular one was very similar, opening up a secret passageway that hadn't been open for a while. And just the fact of opening up a secret door that hasn't been open for a while is what kind of grabs you in, because everybody wants to know what's behind the door. I mean, that's been like a human instinct forever. Like with Graceland, nobody's allowed upstairs. Everybody wants to know what the heck's upstairs. You already know what's upstairs. This is bedroom, but you still want to see it. You still want to go there. So that's the catch. You have to find that hook to kind of pull them in and keep them pulled in and watch to the end, because that's how you get your view count. That's how you get into the algorithm. So it was a very smart video. If it was a deliberate try to get views. If it wasn't, which we can speculate. We don't know for certain. If it wasn't, then who knows what's going on? Who knows?
We went to the Hudson Valley.
Yeah.
Dug up someone's backyard, unearthed an underground cistern made of brick. Okay,
Wow.
that hadn't been opened since like the early 1900s. We didn't get 2 million views on that. I mean,
No.
we're not doing it right.
It's again, they've mastered social media. They put it on all their different platforms, and it all kind of absorbs together onto one channel, and that's what they do. And we haven't learned that yet. Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm sorry, Ken. This is the second hour of Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. We also simulcast with KGRADB.com, KGRA on YouTube and on Facebook. Cody Satori. Cody Satori. It's gotten to that point in time. I said it every time. Cody Ray Desbians from Ghost Hunters has joined us in our monthly or quarterly gripe session where we talk about the paranormal. Oh, by the way, so you guys know, mark it down in your calendar. Next week on Sunday, our good friend Chris Fleming is going to be joining us. He's always a very interesting character. Many years of experience in the field, a psychic, paranormal investigator, inventor. So make sure you guys check it out. Hit that subscribe button and reminder bell again to make sure you guys join us with Chris Fleming next week. I'm sorry, Ken, go ahead.
Nope. What I wanted to ask is honest reactions in chat when we play some of these videos. And I think that we all want to make it clear we're not picking on anybody, because, I mean, you evolve in this field, just like we use technology now. I mean, technology is prevalent in our everyday lives. So why not in the paranormal, right?
Oh,
it
sure.
just stands to reason. So we're not picking on anybody. If nothing else, we just gave those folks a boost here for you guys. So it's not the point here. The point is to find out, when you, the viewer, see these, and there were some comments there, what do you think? I mean, because it doesn't affect my life really, one way or the other, to be quite honest with you. It's just a sensibility thing. And I wanted to, in a second, call Bill in here because I had a question for him. But here's my thing in a nutshell, okay? While we're getting all this attention and while we're doing all these videos, we are allegedly doing it on the shoulders of the dead. My issue and my gripe with all this, I think that we're too desensitized to the idea that the dead, the deceased, are props for us now these days to be used to get views and to get attention. And I can understand, again, the delivery system. There's Facebook. People have turned to Instagram, TikTok. I get it all. I don't have an issue with that. Where I come down on it is that these are still, and don't give me this, demon, and everybody's getting scratched and all of that. Fine, whatever. I just think there's a little desensitivity to the idea that these were people at one time like us. They're not all evil. They're not all out to get us. They're not all out to give us a hard time. They're not out to make our lives miserable. They've just passed over, and we have had contact, and you've seen it on this particular show with Cody and Satori, where these people are not only willing to speak to us, but do so in such a kind and welcoming manner, and just exchange information about who they were, what they did, where they are, where we are. And we're literally having these conversations. So if you're going to do this thing, I think there still has to be that sensitivity that they're not there for entertainment. And we have turned so far to that my thing is, I don't necessarily think it's a good thing to document it and put it out there, fine. But the running around and the hysteria and all the rest of that stuff, this is where I come down on performance art, because they think that's how I'm supposed to react. So just remember, if we keep talking about intention, we hear that word on this show so much, not only from our guests, from us, but the people in chat. If you're going to talk it, walk it, live it, have the respect, have good intention, and don't turn it into a crap show. If I could just one more second of the time, Pepper Jackie is in chat tonight, Jackie Brewster.
Yay.
And Jackie, we understand that you just had a health scare, and that you're okay, and here you are now. So we wanted to just make a special shout out to you. Glad you're here, glad you're recovering, and do whatever that you have to do on that road to recovery. But it's good to hear from you, and thank you for being here. God bless.
I want Cody's take on this, because it's kind of a double-edged sword in what Ken just spoke about, how the dead are being used as props. Being on a nationally televised series, a historical series, if you will, I mean, you're the next generation of sorts. People might take that same stance, even though there is no higher degree of respect than what you all do as investigators, whether it be with the clients or it be with the spirits. You totally show respect, but some people may look at it as, well, you're doing a show and you're using these spirits as a jumping platform for the entertainment value of it. How do you take that perspective with people who might say that?
It is a double-edged sword, and for sure. And some people will always have that point of view. I mean, it all depends on your personal beliefs and everything else. I mean, everybody believes in things differently, and everybody looks at situations differently. From our perspective, and at least from Ghost Hunter's perspective, was always to help people, and it wasn't I mean, the paranormal definitely was the star of the show, but in reality, the star of the show is helping the family that's scared, and the paranormal phenomena, which at least from that format, that television format, was to prove that it didn't exist, that it wasn't there, that try to find a normal explanation to what's going on. So I'm sure some. I mean, it's all in the way that it's presented to the viewer as well. I believe, at least from the perspective that we've done. If we've made contact with the spirit, and this goes for all of Satori and myself's platforms and everything that we've done, if we've made contact with the spirit, we do our best to try to keep their name alive, try to keep their story alive. And like Ken said, these were people that were alive at one point here on this earth, just like us. And we feel like when we make contact with somebody, that it's kind of put on our shoulders now to make sure that their story is remembered. And it's the same thing with our museum. Satori and myself, when we travel the museum around, and I guess you could look at the whole museum's perspective in the same way, the whole museum standpoint, that we're trying to make money off of haunted objects and stuff like that. When in reality, I mean, we're not trying to build the biggest collection there is, and the whole point of this museum is to share the stories. A lot of the objects that we have, a lot of the things that we have, were loved by people and donated by the person that passed away's family. And some of these objects that were donated, the sole purpose of donating it was to get their loved ones' stories out to public. And so we've made it a point to make sure that their stories are told, are remembered, because it was a person, and they deserve the respect, at least to be respected. And so we definitely try that. So I think people will always say that that at least some people will, that you're making money on the dead's back, and some people probably are, and it's unfortunate. But I think it's all in the way that it's presented. Your intentions are everything, like we've always said. Being very respectful is an important thing, and unfortunately, you'll never change some people's minds. But that's on them, not on us. We feel good about everything that we've ever done, and we feel that bringing producing videos and television shows, at least from what we've done, keeps these stories alive. And in turn, some of the places that we visit are they would be falling apart, and unfortunately probably condemned if it wasn't for the paranormal bringing in
Absolutely.
investigations and money. Paranormal, I know a bunch of historical buildings that would not be standing today, and if they were standing, they would be condemned if it were not for paranormal events keeping these locations alive with renovations. Other than that, unfortunately, not a lot of people are just going for a history tour these days of these locations. The paranormal is what's bringing them in. So it is a double-edged sword, but unfortunately, some people's minds will never be changed. And at the same time, there are some people that are unfortunately making videos on the dead's back, but not us.
I do have a question for you, Cody, but I got to get to the back of the line because Bill has a question, which would lead into Ken wanting Bill to come back on screen with us. But the question that Bill posed earlier to you was, Cody, have you and Satori considered writing a book based on your early experiences, recent collaborative events, working together, and advice to others interested in investigating the paranormal?
That's a good question. We've definitely been asked that question a lot, and I think we would love to. We would absolutely love to. One thing we have talked about is writing everything down as far as the stories of the museum, those people's stories that I was just telling you about. Keeping them alive through book form. I think that would be very interesting. Every object has a case file, so all we would have to do is compile some case files and share the stories. So, but for early experiences, that's a good point. I think we'd like to do that. I think there's still a lot more to learn though too. So, I don't know. Should we wait? Should we wait till we find out more information? I don't know.
If you need a co-author, I've co-authored a book up there too.
What just happened?
Ken, you had a question for Bill, or wanted to bring?
Yeah, I mean, I want to close on that because I was actually going to go where Cody just did. It is not the idea of making money, whether it's for a location or whether it's for yourself. It's approach is everything. I mean, there is just as much opportunity to make your way in this field, doing it the right way. It may be a little tougher. Oh well.
Yeah.
Then, and you may have. Yeah, you may have
credibility.
You may have to put your personal feelings aside a little bit, but you know what? It's just a little. Hey, listen, go dig a ditch. Walking around in dark buildings is not the most awful thing in the world. Bill, we're on this topic, and I wanted to bring you in on this because being a UFO guy, you folks aren't exempt from this either.
At all.
And we've talked about it a gazillion times with Photoshop and editing programs. People are throwing all sorts of stuff out there. And it gets to the point, again, you get desensitized. It could be the greatest piece of evidence, whether it's Bigfoot, a ghost, or a UFO, and you just can't trust it. I'm going to put up an example of this right now. Now, that looks like one hell of a mothership, right?
Independence Day.
Yeah. And, you know, it's not a cloud formation or anything. It's photoshopped in there. And we talked about, you know, people say science doesn't take us seriously. Well, what do you expect? So in the UFO community, we just wanted to get your vibe on this whole thing too, because you're dealing with the same thing in ufology, possibly even more so than in the community of ghosts and cryptids, that there's just so
There are
much
a
of
lot
this
of
stuff
parallels
out there.
There are a lot of parallels. And Cody, you were spot on 100% in everything you said. The problem is, first, when people are doing this, they're demeaning the work, the hard work of those that are in the field, boots on the ground, doing the research. It just takes away from the credibility factor. And it's also about respect. You have to respect anything that you walk into. I mean, you've said this numerous times, Cody and Satori, and Ken and George, and the numerous guests that have been on the show. But in ufology, I think it's worse. I do sky watches. I've captured stuff, and I say to myself, "What was that?" And I'm going to rule out all the possible logical explanations. And then I also will submit the video evidence to people that I know, like Mark D'Antonio, who's a video photo analyst for MUFON. He's a good friend of mine. You want to go to other people and get their opinions too. People that you feel that are credible, that you think are credible, and they, you know, they have their expertise in looking at this type of information. The bad thing is there are people out there, and I'm sure the folks that are watching the show know some that I'm not going to mention names, but they make a big announcement that we've got the proof, we've got the evidence, we got the smoking gun, and it turns out to be a hoax. And it just puts a whole black eye on the whole community. All these people that are doing the hard work, and then you have someone out there making these extraordinary statements, and it turns out it really does damage to the whole UFO field, the research, the people that are doing the work. Now, another thing that you mentioned is this whole demonic evil label. Now, first of all, if you're dealing, Cody, and I'm sure both of you have experience, when you walk into someone's home, I mean, these are people that are seeking help. They're reaching out. They're trying to find answers. This could be a loved one. This could be a family member. And then people are putting these labels. I think Hollywood and this whole stereotype that people have in their minds, I don't know if these type of activities that people want to label them as evil or demonic makes it more exciting or interesting to them. I don't know. But the bottom line is when you're going in, you could cause trauma. You can affect the person personally, the families. Cody, I have the utmost respect for what you and Satori do because you're doing it the right way.
Thank you.
You're doing it from a research point of view, an investigative point of view, an experience point of view, and you're going in there and you're taking in the whole environment. You're understanding what the issue is going on there, and you show respect. And a lot of people want to make a mockery and laugh and joke. This is serious business because you're affecting people on a personal level. Now, in ufology, this has been going on for the last 6-7 years, really. It's been getting where everything is demonic. They're evil. Now, you tell that to a person who has an experience. Yes, there might be PTSD involved. They may have suffered from some traumatic experience. But there's other people that claim that they had a spiritual encounter, that it was divinity, it was something else. So when people start putting labels, and I'll say one more thing, and you both know this, and I've had experiences. When you have an experience, it changes your perception, and it really changes an individual. And until you have that experience, it's easy to criticize and judge, debunk. It's great. Like me, I'm a skeptic. I want answers, and I'm going to reach all the possible conclusions. But at the same time, there are people that are having experience on that, and you cannot take that away from them. And until you have that experience, then you'll see how life changes for you. That's pretty much how I look at it.
Yeah. I didn't understand a thing you said with that Southern accent at all.
But you guys, Cody and Satori, keep up the great work. And of course, Ken and George, you guys just do a tremendous job.
Yeah. Well, Bill, and thank you for being a producer and doing a fantastic job for us week in and week out. Besides us, the multitude of shows on kgradb.com. Yeah, we want to get into another show, right, Ken, with regards to ufology, and we've talked considerably. I know why Bill left, because he knew I was going to corner him right now and see whether or not we can get Travis Walton onto the show. But
he can come back anytime. He's got that button.
Yeah. So the question I had for you, Cody, before we got into this part of it, was regards to demonic, regards to negative spirits, negative forces, and I kind of like the perspective of what you're doing, and I have fallen into the trap. I think we've all fallen into the trap before, with regards to being in the middle of an investigation, and you can kind of feel something negative is coming into the communication. Something negative is coming into the room. You even spoke about this while you and Satori are doing some of that conduit work, which is amazing. Breakthrough work that the two of you and Rise of Paranormal and Ken are working on. But you kind of say, okay, something's wrong, let's break. Most people, and myself included, have been caught into that trap of, okay, there's something negative here. What are you doing here? We don't want you here. In the name of Jesus Christ, we inform you. We're feeding it. We're giving it ample ammunition to come back at us again. When did you decide that was the best thing to do, is to simply ignore it? Almost like you would say ignore a bully in school. Is that the mentality that both of you have taken in regards to this?
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely, and you explained it very well. You just feel it, and I don't think that part is like a gift or anything. I think, like you mentioned, if you do this quite often, if you do the whole paranormal investigation thing quite often, you can kind of get a sense of when something is around, or when something is around that doesn't feel that right. It's extremely rare that something like that happens. We are more likely to come in contact with a regular spirit, a person just like you or I that is passed on, who sometimes we run into that has a not so nice of an attitude, but it's not a demon, it's not demonic, but sometimes you can still feel a little off, and we found over time that we should just break off, and because there's still a lot of unknowns out there. No matter what religious background you come from, no matter what you believe, there's still a lot of unknowns out there. And I'm not saying that if we didn't break, we were going to become possessed or something. It's almost as a cautionary thing, just for us, for what we believe in. We have plenty of friends that deal with that stuff, and if we felt like if it elevated to a level where we couldn't handle, then we can call on people that handle that stuff. People like John. This is his territory when it comes into something like that, and we feel like, and we always recommend that if you're coming into a situation and you don't feel quite right, maybe it's a good choice to step back. You have to know when that comes. And on investigations, we've always told people that if you're not feeling well, if you're sick or something, or your gut tells you that something is off, always trust your gut, because it'll never steer you wrong. And Satori's my other half. I love her, and we definitely have a connection. And we feed off of it. Trust is another big thing. If she said something was wrong and I didn't feel it, you have to trust that your team. And it could save you in the end, or it could be nothing. But it's always good to at least go with what you feel, and that'll never hurt.
Ken?
I think the way I kind of look at this in a nutshell is I take things seriously when it's time to take them seriously. I always take everybody's stories and claims seriously. I mean, within reason, because obviously you have people come to you with such outlandish stories that there may be other forces at work, if you know what I mean, other than the paranormal. In terms of like the most negative things, I'll take them seriously when it's time to. I have never gone into a place immediately exacerbating or making things worse with, a priest behind me with some throwing holy water around until you have an opportunity to assess the situation rationally. As someone who's not living it, the advantage you have is to come in without any preconceived ideas in a calm manner. Now, if that goes sideways, then obviously you deal with that. But I think that's the advantage. It's like getting a second opinion or a second pair of eyes on something. If there's a problem of some type, it's like, hey, I'm going to step away from this. Could you take a look at this? I know I'm flickering with my TV here. I'm going to step away. Could you take a look at this? Fresh pair of eyes. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that we're able to do if we're serious about it, is just give a different perspective, that other pair of eyes, calmly, rationally, objectively, systematically, however you want to term it. And I think that can be advantageous. Now, if something gets to the point where it starts to get a little heavy, and whether that's the environment, the situation, or something physical happens, then and only then will we kind of switch gears and downshift a little bit and change our approach, change our perspective. But we have to see it happen first. Just because someone says, what did Sagan say? He said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. I mean, it's fine to say, I've been abducted. I'm not going to dismiss that out of hand, as sensational as it is. But the biggest thing we can do is to come in as rationally as we can and not with our hair on fire. Like, oh my God, this is happening. We have to do this, because we just don't know. Sometimes that calm and objectivity makes all the difference in the world. Satori made a comment where they've gone in and people misinterpret actions. And she put it in terms of, and then you got the living and the dead together. They talked it out, problem solved. Because you're still dealing with people. And if you can rationally reason in your environments, then it's possible to have a, the best possible outcome.
Yeah,
100%.
I would agree too. What I'd like to do is play a few more of these clips that I stole off of TikTok. And I wanted you guys to kind of give your perspective of it again from an investigative standpoint. What would you do in these circumstances coming into it? Now, some are a little bit longer, some of them are pretty short. But again, what I go back to and why I was disagreeing with both of you earlier was when I signed up for the Air Force, and you've seen enough movies, I refer back to Stripes, great movie with Bill Murray, where the recruiting posters, you're going to be where the sailboats are, and you're going to have really a condominium once you get out of basic training. It doesn't happen that way. But these are our recruiting posters for the paranormal. When people see these things and, oh my God, I want to have that kind of an experience. And some of these people have really gone all out. And case in point, take a look at this one.
¿Qué es esto prendido ahora, marica? Amy? Amy? Ay, Diosito. Amy? Amy?
A client sends Rise Up Paranormal that video. Before you call and tear them a new one, you have to go on the assumption that this may be something legitimate. What would your procedures be on this? You can, and just that happened to be that day that Cody's at your house, and hey, I just got this video. Why don't you take a look at it? Now you guys start talking about this, not getting it off of social media, but actually a client sending that to you. How's that discussion go?
The best way I can answer that is to say someone sends that to Cody and says, hey, do me a favor and send this to Ken. So the best way I can answer it is to just ask Cody what he would do in that situation. Could you
Well,
do me a favor? Send this to Ken. We need help.
yeah. Yeah, if I got that video, you know, we've been doing this a while. I mean, Ken's been doing this a lot longer than I have. And you know, we've seen a lot of stuff. We've definitely seen a lot of stuff. We've been to a lot of different places, and we haven't seen anything like that yet. Not saying it doesn't exist. Again, but if that came from a reliable source, if somebody who filmed that video sent it to us and not just found it on the web or something like that, if somebody legitimately sent that to us, I would definitely send it to Ken after giving my opinion on it. And of course, our opinion would be, well, that is most likely fabricated. Most likely fabricated. But I think we would definitely give the guy a call out of curiosity to see what his story is, because watching that video is one thing, but when you talk to the person that filmed it, that's a different story. If it's just on the phone, it's still a different story. When you're face to face with that person, it's an even different story, because you're seeing emotions and everything else. And I think I'd be very interested just to hear what the person that filmed that has to say about his video. And that would probably be the first step that I would recommend. I don't know about Ken, but I would want to talk to the guy and ask what the heck's up.
I mean, why did you take the tube out of your TV and it's hollow, and why do you stick a doll in there? Is there a puppet show thing
No,
going
that was
on?
a cabinet. That was a cabinet door.
Well, I mean, and the doll is in there. Why, instead of dishes or so? There are nuances to this thing, and when people send you videos, you always ask yourself, why is the activity centered on this video?
On the camera shot.
Like, oh, I was taking a video of my little girl and this. Well, you just happened to have the camera dead nut center on this particular activity. Or is because you were trying to catch it, because it happens often. There are nuances with this type of thing where something is being photographed and it's not off to the side somewhere where it's happenstance. When you're focused and centered and you say, this just happened to appear. I mean, there are questions that you have to ask. There are questions that have to be asked about that.
Sure.
It's like, this is some pretty good photography from something that just happened out of the clear blue sky. You got to separate those things.
But keep it in mind, though, Ken, and again, I'll have to take the antithesis of what you're saying and argue. This guy, here's his daughter laughing, and everybody posts stuff like that on social media, and he's got his cell phone out. He's walking into the room, hearing her laughing, and this is not a set up fixed camera on that cabinet. Watch it again.
Amy? Amy? Ay, Diosito. Amy?
So it's a a cabinet drawer. He's going in there and she's laughing, and then that happens to be caught in that kind of circumstance. Now, I did notice this, as I'm sure Cody has, on a long trip or waiting at the airport or whatever he's doing, happens to scroll through TikTok, and about 80% of the paranormal videos that are out there are in Spanish. A lot of them, which is kind of, being Hispanic myself, I know that it is a almost taboo topic to talk about the dead. You don't mess with something like that, but boy, do they ever when you find it on social media. So are they looking for grabs and views? Absolutely. But some of these are interesting. Now, 2 seasoned paranormal investigators, and for those of you that are again listen in, turn your volume up on this one here. This is one of those that both of you guys would call the client right away and have the answer to, but take a listen and a look.
I'm home alone and I'm hearing somebody screaming in my house. Yo, what the f is that?
Go ahead, guys.
I mean, I like all of these videos. I can't get anything from a video.
It's
going back to the one before, he hears his daughter laughing. No, I heard a girl laughing.
Yeah.
How many kids do you have? People are pretty sharp. They'll go to, it's like, I'll just have another one of my daughters or one of her friends laugh in that room, and then you see her just sitting there. And something like that, I don't know, you heard a scream. I mean, I don't know. I don't get much from a video because the way I look at it, if somebody's going to get a hold of me, they're going to show me the video. If someone immediately turns around, puts it on TikTok or YouTube, I'm sorry. I mean, that's a little bit of a red flag for me, because I dealt with people that have done that and it hasn't turned out well for them on supposedly a legitimate piece of paranormal activity, because at that point, all the world gets to weigh in on it and give you their opinion, and you haven't contacted anyone yet to explain your story that will listen to you and try to make sense out of it. So again, there are better ways to go about doing stuff. Like if I got a hold of that person right now and said, hey, I want to come to your house, I want to find out what that scream is, I'm not sure I'd have an open door to do that. A lot of people that post this stuff, I want to come to your house. I want to try to recreate that. And for a lot of those people that have been approached like that, they've had the door slammed in their face, because we don't want to go that far.
Well, before these social media platforms were out, it predominantly was, again, YouTube. And I would come across some of these videos, just typing in paranormal on YouTube, and you'd see this incredible video, and then you would click on their bio, filmmaker, film student, so these are things that they're creating beautifully to make it enticing for people to watch, but it's not legitimate. But just to show you the craze, just how much this is all going on. This one comes in from France, so it's not just South America or the United States, it's everywhere. This one's pretty interesting too.
On a entendu du bruit trop. Là, il vient d'avoir un truc. Putain. Jusqu'à on doit avoir une médium aujourd'hui. Qu'est-ce qu'il y a, Loulou? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a, le chat? En panique, le chat. Calme-toi, il n'y a rien. Ça a bougé? Ça a bougé, je sais pas. Le chat, il est pas bien. Regarde comment il est en bas. Je vais vous demander d'arrêter de toucher à tout ici maintenant. Putain, oh mon Dieu. Ça va? Ah mon cœur, putain. Arrêtez, si vous voulez communiquer. Oh mon Dieu. Je rêve. Arrêtez de faire bouger ma poupée, putain, je veux me casser ici, putain. Ah putain. Non, bon, écoute, faut pas paniquer comme ça, il faut qu'on parle avec. Je me casse, j'en ai rien à foutre.
I speak a little French, and what she was saying was, F this, we're out of here.
Yeah. Waste of a perfectly good Halloween decoration.
I know. Could have been rats. You never know. You never know.
I
I saw you nodding your head, Cody, especially when the rocking chair was going on. Does it bring back memories?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've had a couple cases. I think of Pain. I was thinking of the Pain House video when I saw that of the rocking chair moving there. But all these videos, and Ken said the same thing. A video is a video. If somebody actually sent this in, it's a different story. When you're seeing a video on a platform like this, it's totally different. I mean, that like Ken said, you're putting on that platform to obviously get a reaction from the public, maybe get their opinions or something like that, which is perfectly okay. But it's a different story when it's sent to an investigative team or somebody who investigates the paranormal. Is a totally different story. And like Ken said, I mean, I've been saying it, my whole time while doing this. And like Bill said, respect is everything when you're referring to the dead, because they were living people at one time. Now you're dealing with a living person that's still alive sending you a video. You still have to have that same respect. And if they're sending you a video, at least from my perspective, and I know Satori would agree with me, and probably Ken, you still want to give that respect and listen to what they have to say, whether they're trying to pull one over on you or not. Even if you think the video is extremely fake or something like that, give them a minute of your time. This is why you're doing this. You're doing this because you love the paranormal. You want to investigate strange claims. Give them a minute of your time. Answer them with respect and ask them, what's going on. Talk to them for a minute. I would definitely talk to anybody on the phone who sent a video like that, even if I thought it was fake, and just to see what they have to say. I know that screaming video, we posted a very similar video to that on our TikTok, and I'm the one who filmed it. I was standing in my house and heard the screaming, and I was like, what the heck was that? It sounded like somebody getting murdered, and it turned out to be a Fisher cat in my backyard. And that's why if somebody sent that video in, they might not have known. What if it was an animal and they actually think that it's a spirit in their house, and they're scared? So talking to them and giving them other explanations as to what might going on, actually going to the residents or investigating a little further might actually help. It might seem, some of these videos might seem silly to us at first. But sometimes you get somebody who sends a video in that truly believes what is happening in the video to be paranormal, when it might be very obvious to us that it's not. So we still have to keep that respect and talk to them and give another explanation and just give our opinion. And usually that helps the situation out a lot. They just want to talk to somebody most of the time.
Ken, I need you to have the final word on this. I guess the moral of what I've been presenting and what we've been talking about for the last 2 hours, and Cody, I want to thank you for joining us tonight to give us also a different perspective, are these necessary evils? In other words, let me put it to you this way. Again, Rise of Paranormal, going out, doing an investigation. Somebody for the first time, and you've had this experience, particularly at Payne House, never done an investigation, but they want to go out and investigate. And it is not what they see on TV because there's editing involved with that. Time is reduced tremendously from maybe 3-4 days or a week to an hour, 42 minutes to be exact. So it's the highlights of an investigation, where sometimes it's 2-3 hours, maybe not at all, before somebody has an experience. So when these, I guess teasers, pleasers, these particular videos that come out that are under 2 minutes that just blow people's minds and they go, I want to see if I can experience that. Now I'm going to go to the Payne House, right? Is it a necessary evil in the field to get people jump started within paranormal, or do you think it's still damaging?
I don't know. To me, it's just everything we got at Payne House was pre-TikTok. Facebook was just kind of a thing then, but I don't think we're any different than what we talked about at the earliest part of the show is that we get a little jaded too because we're fed so much nonsense that it's hard to separate. I mean, there is millions of these things out there. And there are so many of them that we can take apart or that people smarter than us have already disproved and debunked. But there's such a barrage of these things, it's impossible. I mean, you can look at a video and say, well, that's a little different. That there's something about that that's intriguing to me. But they're few and far between because for the most part, I think we've been conditioned to look at it as baloney because we know how easy it is to fake those kind of things. And I'm sorry if we didn't get to all your questions tonight as promised. We take responsibility for that. But I wanted to hit a video real quick because this is literally an example of the type of thing we see all the time, okay? Okay, so that's that. And we see a lot. That's from a school in Ireland. Lately, the thing is, you see a lot of these from schools.
Yeah.
Lockers opening and closing. So what's the common denominator there? These are happening in schools, supposedly after hours, whatever the question may be. So, I mean, you can't help but, and like I say, for a lot of the attitudes we have nobody but ourselves to blame. If science doesn't take us seriously, or you're not taken seriously within the community itself, because there's just a barrage of this stuff. There's an avalanche of it that comes at you. And if you're not a fool, I mean, you have to look at this with some type of reason. The problem is, again, that one little piece of evidence that you just say, this is just like all the rest, that actually may be very legitimate. But how do you find it, like in this needle in this haystack of stuff that you're getting thrown at you these days?
Yeah,
it's tough.
Just again, use a little bit of common sense, use a great deal of respect, and we'll continue to bring a lot of this to bear and shine a light on what we feel out there is good or what's bad for the paranormal. It's just our opinions, our learned opinions nonetheless, but just our opinions on this. About 30 seconds for Cody to tell everybody where they can see you, watch you, what you guys are doing. We had you of course promote the Ghost Hunters on Discovery Plus, but for you and Satori, what are the platforms and where can people find you?
Sure. So Facebook is the Paranormal Couples Haunted Museum. We're always going live on there, doing museum videos and things like that. Paranormalcouple.com is our website. If you click on the events page, it has all the events that we'll be at in the coming future. I know we'll be at the Primitive Crow on April 2nd. I think that's the next event that we have. Also going to New Jersey and Michigan, Pennsylvania. So if you're into haunted objects and things like that, or the paranormal in general, then definitely give us a check. And again, Ghost Hunters is airing on regular Travel Channel starting on March 16th.
Write that down in your calendar and your journal, and make sure you guys do check it out. Hang with us, Cody. Again, next week, Chris Fleming going to be joining us, guys. Until then, have a great week and watch that spending on your gasoline. Until then, my name is George Lopez. With me, Ken DaCosta. You've been watching Dead Air Full Spectrum. Good night.